the next thing I want to talk about is a really important concept throughout the whole book, um, and that's impermanence. So that's one of the basic laws that governs the universe. Nothing lasts. Um, Everything dies eventually. And that's also what the book is trying to show us. So by showing us how the sort of big family, from a really well-off and wealthy setting, seen by the fact that they spent so much on a tiny like funeral. It was not a tiny funeral, but it's like for a really trivial character in the book. So when that trivial character of the in the book died, the family spent extraordinarily huge resources, wealth, and also materials to um organize this funeral. And the author spent a whole chapter just writing about this really extraordinary funeral. It was a really big scene. Um, it involves lots of servants walking around and lots of ceremonies, uh, like rituals as well. Um, and so that's what happens at starts. The family is really rich, so that they can spend all these resources on a really trivial character in the book. So fast forward to the last few characters of the book, when the actual leader or the sort of runner, the operator of the family dies. The funeral, well, there wasn't even a funeral because the family was so poor that like they kind of have no resources, so they just like sort of um buried the 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 um heads of the family. So you can see from this um like falling of the family, that's like no matter how huge the scene is in the beginning, it is necessarily going to collapse. And you can also see it from the sort of like towards the beginning of the book. There's like a big party when they um have crabs, and crabs is a really delicate food. Like
Crabs?
yeah, crabs.
Okay.
Like it's considered to be a really um like it's considered to be a delicacy. Um, Kind of like caviar. Yeah. So imagine you have a dinner party. There's gonna be caviar, and you just like you and your besties sit around a table, and there's moon, there's wine. You um all of yours all of you are like really exhilarated. You kind of rub the carrots on to each other's faces like to celebrate. That's what they did. They rubbed like the crab rolls like onto each other's faces. It was a really um heartening scene, a really happy scene. Also really warm as well. Compare that to the sort of um like dying scene, like at the end, like most people died. Compared to that scene, um
Mm.
yeah, and you'll sort of notice that um like whatever the um it's like inside this facade of happiness, it lies the roots of um sorrow and suffering, because that's happiness can't last forever.
Mm.
That's also one thing that the authors want to describe.
So it's very interesting that, like you said, that the funeral, like the extravagant funeral,
Hmm.
um, was the change in extravagant funeral to just bare bones type of funeral where they just bury the heads because they don't have any money. That's
of course that elapsed throughout
Yeah,
through a really long
long period
time.
of
Yeah.
time. But that's kind of the symbolism of the idea of like impermanence, that nothing is permanent. Because I guess the funeral in itself is a reminder that
You could also say that. Yeah.
yeah, that
Hmm.
like that nothing is permanent. Or that not nothing that's permanent, but life itself doesn't last forever. And it's I guess funerals are in some sense a reminder of that for people that are alive, that our lives are not going to continue forever, and that we're not going to be on this earth forever.
Yeah, and also you can also see the like during the middle of the novel where the author is trying to describe how the family runs itself, how this really powerful female figure who is the runner of the family, like she sort of calculates um really like in detail, like she's really um effective in running the family. But she's like she's also aware that there are corruption in this family. It's just simply too big. You cannot control everyone,
Mm.
no matter how effective or how much power you have. It is not it is not a matter of how much power you have or how capable you are running the family. The family is going to die eventually. Like no matter what. Like despite there are some apparent failings, um, that the runners of the family has made, the author is not trying to make a point that, oh, because of this, because you failed to achieve this, that's the reason the family dies. The author wants to show us that it's necessarily going to end in this way.
Mm. So, okay. So like the idea that I mean I tend to like you think about a roller coaster, and no matter how high you go, it's always gonna come down.
Hmm.
Um, it also, I know I'm not an expert in Buddhist philosophy. I haven't really studied it, but I do know like the kind of, um, was it attachment is the root of all suffering? Um,
Desire, yeah.
yeah. Um, and like to me, the idea like of accepting that nothing is permanent, um, is kind of relates stronger to that idea that if you accept that if you kind of let go of the idea that you have to hold everything forever or hold certain things forever and get super stressed about things ending. If you let go of that idea, then you can, I guess, free yourself.
That is really easy to say, but really hard to do.
Yeah, of
So
course, of course.
in the novel, they of course they tried to in many ways to remind themselves of the facts. One of them like would go would go depressed, like really depressed, um, in like the crab dinner party and be like, oh, since all gatherings eventually dissolves, like you have a party and like you go home. What is the point of like hosting this party anyway? What is the point of gathering anyway? Um, like one of the character occasionally makes this sort of like has this sort of like eruption um about just just how things don't last. Um, and also in multiple points, the family also invites monks and nuns from Buddhism, like Buddhist and Taoist monasteries, to host rituals for people and to make sacrifice. And also, there's one particular scene that gives me really deep impression, which is that they try to organize themselves to copy Buddhist scriptures. So everyone's copying the same Buddhist scripture for the like in the hope that's something good's about the like something good's gonna happen to the family, like it's gonna recover itself from the corruption, from bankruptcy, for whatever. And of course, given the end of the book, that doesn't work really well. So the author is also trying to show like how people could end up in blind faith, trying to take the scriptures only at its face value, or even like copying it without even understanding what's going on, but um sort of believes blindly that it's got some supernatural power, such that if you um do the things that it describes, or like just do whatever rituals, some miracles gonna happen. There's no like, but as a matter of fact, there's no supernatural power or miracles gonna happen. Like, it's just how the universe works.
When you say like scriptures, what are you referring to specifically?
So imagine someone who just copies the Bible without understanding it,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
but hoping that the Bible, just by copying the Bible, God is going to um to give them all the benefits, and like invites them into the heaven when they die.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying that this notion is challenged in throughout the book.
um I wouldn't say it's a notion, because it's just blind faith. So this blind faith is being challenged.
I see. I see. Um, and I guess I'm having what I'm trying to understand is what is the in the story specifically, what is the like blind faith into what do the characters have?
Just blind faith into like things will turn to the better if you do this sort of rituals.
And are these rituals that come from just history,
Yeah, it could
tradition?
be historical rituals, or um like traditional rituals that's like lost their original meanings. Like, think about the superstitions that you really don't get.